Jai Hind everyone and welcome back to your physics classes. In the last video we have discussed about weather and its elements and also a nice difference, explained difference between weather and climate. Now in this video we are going to start with climate and how it is being determined. Now the climate of a place is dependent upon various factors, but in calculation, in mathematically also we can take out how a climate of a place will be. This is a very practical example. You must have seen weather reports in newspapers like this and also in news channels. There it is shown about maximum temperature, minimum temperature, amount of humidity and all. So if we start collecting the data, if we collect the weather reports from the newspaper for 1 week, we will have a set of observations about maximum temperature and minimum temperature of a particular place. Similarly, we can have the set of data for humidity also. So if we can collect for 1 week, we can also collect it for 1 month, we can also collect it for 1 year, and in fact we can have a huge amount of data for over 25 to 30 years of time. So in this manner we can have a general idea about a particular place, that particular place was having the maximum temperature of this particular range, say 35 degree to 40 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Celsius. So yes, we can determine that particular place has been warm place for a long period of time, and so the climate of that place is hot. Similarly, we can refer to the humidity and the minimum temperature and the amount of rainfall which is occurring over there. So all these factors, all these data can be computed easily and we can determine the climate of a particular place. Apart from this, there are various other factors which actually affect the climate of a particular place. Let us take a look on it. Let us see all these factors which is affecting climate in a better explained manner.
Hello everyone. In this video, I will tell you about factors influencing climate. Climate is influenced and controlled by certain factors like latitude or distance from the equator, altitude, humidity, precipitation and wind. Let's start with latitude or distance from the equator. It is one of the most important factors affecting the climate of a place. The places on the equator and close to it receive direct sun rays and maximum heat. The farther a place from the equator, the lesser heat it receives from the sun. Next factor is distance from the sea. The water bodies close to land affect the temperature of the place. During the day, the land gets heated up, whereas the water body is comparatively cooler. The cool wind from the sea blows towards the land and cools it. At night, the land loses its heat while the water body remains warm, causing the cool wind from land blow towards the sea. This circulation of land breeze and sea breeze continue in summer as well as in winter. This way, water bodies close to land help to moderate the climate of these places. Next factor is altitude or the height of a place above the sea level. The higher a place is above sea level, the cooler is its climate. This happens due to the slanting sun rays and relatively thinner envelope of air. Earth is covered by a blanket of air, जिसको हम एटमॉस्फेयर कहते हैं. अर्थ की ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स एटमॉस्फेयर को होल्ड करती है. इसलिए जब हम ऊंचाई की तरफ जाते हैं तो एयर थिन होती जाती है। Look at this picture of Mount Kanchenjunga taken from Darjeeling, 2,500 meters higher than Darjeeling. As a result, while Darjeeling itself rarely gets snow, Kanchenjunga is permanently covered in snow. Direction of the wind blowing can also affect the climate of a place. Winds that come from over the water bodies bring moisture and rain to the land. The winds can be hot, dry, or cold, depending upon the regions they pass through, and thus affect the climate of the area. The cool winds that blow in North India after snowfall in Shimla always drop the temperature of Delhi and surrounding areas in winter. Next factor is amount of moisture or humidity and precipitation. The amount of water vapor in the air is called humidity. Humidity is responsible for formation of clouds, rain and snow. Humid air increases rainfall in the area and dry air makes the climate drier. That is the reason why coastal lands receive more rainfall as compared to the
Okay, so I think you're clear with most of the factors which is affecting climate, but there are few more. Like there are ocean currents which is also affecting the climate of a particular place. Let us take a look how ocean currents affect the climate of a place.
Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to examine how ocean currents affect the climate of coastlines they flow past. Before we get into that, let's just remind ourselves about the definition of climate as well as the factors that affect global climate. Climate is best defined as the general atmospheric conditions over a place over a minimum of 30 years or more. The 5 factors that affect climate are latitude or distance from the equator, ocean currents, which we are going to examine in this video, distance from the ocean or continentality, altitude, also known as height above sea level, and relief or the shape of the land. Ocean currents are giant underwater rivers or conveyor belts of water that flow in the oceans. There are many contributing factors that create these ocean currents, and some of these include the winds, Earth's rotation, the temperature of the water, and the salinity or the salt content of the water. There are 2 categories of ocean currents: warm currents and cold currents. This map of the major global ocean currents shows something quite important that we should take note of. Warm ocean currents originate at the equator and transport warm water south and north to the high latitudes, and cold ocean currents originate at the high latitudes and transport cold water towards the equator. From this map, you can also identify some global climate patterns created by ocean currents. Almost all coastlines where major cold currents flow are dominated by a light brown color that on this map indicates a lack of vegetation. These regions are deserts. Let's look at the effects of ocean currents by examining the effect they create on the coastlines of countries or regions. A perfect example to use here is the Southern African region. Situated to Southern Africa's east coast is the Indian Ocean, and along the west coast you can find the South Atlantic Ocean. Both of these oceans have a massive impact on the climate of Southern Africa. The current flowing through the section of the Indian Ocean that borders Southern Africa is the warm Agulhas current. This current moderates the east coast temperatures as it provides a constant flow of warm water from the equator, which leads to lots of evaporation occurring off this current. As a result of this, places along the east coast like Durban have humid summers with lots of rainfall. As you can see from these pictures, southern Africa's east coast also has a lot of green vegetation. This picture shows the Kranskloof Nature Reserve, and you can see the densely packed trees and greenery everywhere. George, which is another town along the east coast, is well known for its beautiful green scenery, which it can also attribute to the warm Agulhas current. The current flowing in the South Atlantic Ocean is the cold Benguela current. This current brings cold water from the South Pole, and due to the cold temperatures of the water, very little evaporation occurs along this coastline, and the climate is extremely dry throughout the entire year. The west coast of southern Africa is dominated by the Namib Desert, which is widely thought to be the oldest desert in the world. Estimates put its age at around 55 million years old. It is also one of the driest deserts in the world, and very few people inhabit it. While the scenery of the Namib lacks the greenery and vegetation, that doesn't make it any less magnificent to look at. The west coast of South America is also dominated by a desert called the Atacama Desert. The west coast of North America contains the Sonoran Desert, and the west coast of Australia sees the early parts of Australia's outback, which is a large series of interconnected deserts. Before we finish the video, let's just summarize what we have learned. Ocean currents are giant underwater rivers that flow in the oceans. There are two different types of ocean currents, warm and cold. Warm currents raise average coastal temperatures and make these coasts more humid with more rain, especially in the summer. And finally, cold ocean currents lower the average coastal temperatures, making them extremely dry in the process. Deserts often form along these coasts. And that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you found the content educational and entertaining.
Hope you are clear with the ocean currents. Now there is one more factor, and that factor is known as El Nino. El Nino factor, which is actually seen in Pacific Ocean. So this El Nino effect actually determines the type of monsoon which will come in our continent, that is Indian subcontinent, and also brings lots of rain or drought in the Pacific Ocean or the continents lying in the Pacific Ocean. So here let us know more about El Nino effect.
A natural force of nature unlike any other, El Niño is capable of unleashing a fury of climate changes and natural disasters that span from Alaska all the way to South America and beyond. What causes El Niño, and how are we affected by it? El Niño is not a storm, but rather a weather phenomenon in the Pacific Ocean. During an El Niño, the surface water temperature warms up, leading to complex weather patterns. South American fishermen in the 19th century, describing warmer waters during Christmas time, coined the name El Niño, Spanish for the Blessed Child. Nowadays, when sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific Ocean rise 0.5 degrees Celsius over their historic average for 3 consecutive months, and once atmospheric conditions and rainfall patterns shift accordingly, scientists officially declare an El Niño. An El Niño event takes place about every 2 to 7 years. Normal east to west trade winds over the Pacific weaken, and warm water that normally travels westward is now moving toward the east. Moisture then rises into the air, and the effects of El Niño are felt throughout the Americas. In the ocean, warm water pushes colder water downward, blocking the important upwelling of nutrient-rich waters from the bottom. This causes some marine life to migrate to colder waters. Animals that normally feed on this sea life suffer, and fisheries throughout Central and South America suffer too. But El Niño's most noticeable repercussions are felt on land. In the western United States and Central and South America, the warm air and moisture lead to increased storms, rainfall, floods, loss of life and property, and the increase of some vector-borne diseases like malaria, even in places where they don't normally occur. In Southeast Asia and Australia, the opposite takes place. These areas suffer from drought, wildfires, and colder ocean waters. In 1997 and 98, the world experienced the biggest El Nino in recorded history. Some estimates blame that El Nino for 2,100 deaths and $33 billion in damages. Mongolia saw temperatures reach 108 degrees Fahrenheit, there was record flooding in Peru, and the U.S. saw storms in the Gulf Coast, flash flooding from California to Mississippi, and tornadoes in Florida. Scientists are now better able to predict if and when an El Nino event will take place. This helps communities better prepare for the changes in weather patterns and better adapt to its repercussions.
Hope you are clear with the El Nino effect. Now the last factor which affect a particular climate of a particular place is no one else than we humans. We humans have actually made the climate of a particular place more worse and worse just to satisfy our greed. So let us see how human activities have affected our climate. Deforestation is a large-scale cutting of the trees which has led to the devastating results in the climate. It has led to the reduced underground water and recharging of the underground waters, and also has led to the formation of various deserts. Similarly, industrialization has also been a curse to the nature, as lots of gases and pollutions is produced by them, resulting in the deterioration of the climate. In this video, you are clear about all the factors which affect the climate of a place, and more information can be collected according to the data which is collected for over 25 to 30 years of time span. Thank you and have a nice day.
Hey yo, 5th grade, it's time to rhyme it. These are the factors that affect the climate. Look it up on a map, but don't give me attitude. Degrees to the north, the south, it's called latitude. In the middle, sun really beats down. That's why it stays warm all year round. As you move away, higher latitudes are colder. Climate zones tropical, temperate, polar. So you know that the equator's hot, but just ask the penguins, the poles are not. Equator's hot, but the poles are not. I said equator's hot, but the poles are not. Elevation also affects the climate, which you'll notice if you go to a big mountain and climb it. Sea level zero, and as it gets greater, it means you're going up like an elevator. Another word for elevation's altitude, like a guy named Al who's a really cool dude. And by cool, I mean cold, cause the higher you go, the more the temperature drops, and so you're gonna get snow. The higher you go, more cold, more snow. Said the higher you go, more cold, more snow. The oceans are moving, we can trace the currents as they cool things down or they bring heat like a furnace. Canada is cold, but across the sea it's balmy. Thanks to the Gulf Stream, Ireland has palm trees. The water's warm, so it warms up the air above it. Warm air holds more moisture, so the plants are gonna love it. This ocean current, it makes Europe kind of a paradise. I'm not saying it's tropical, but the climate you'll find there is nice. Warm Gulf Stream makes Europe a dream. Warm Gulf Stream makes Europe a dream. 3/5 done, it's fun to rhyme it. Here's 2 more factors that affect the climate. High in the sky where the cold wind blows, across North America the jet stream flows. Most weather moves from west to east because it's blown right along by this hefty breeze. But it's not a straight line and it moves around, and sometimes it carries really cold air down. Big storm, you can bet the jet stream's behind it, going over your head to influence the climate. Jet stream sweeps from west to east. I said the jet stream sweeps from west to east.
It's fun.
When the sun beats down, all the rocks get hot. But to heat up an ocean takes an awful lot. Temperature is moderated by your body, your water, you got it? It flattens out the pattern if you plot it. Climate on the coast stays relatively mild, but move inland, fluctuations get wild. Big lakes put on the brakes, slow down changes, but landlocked areas see very wide ranges. Farther from the water, colder and hotter. Farther from the water, colder and hotter. Play it on repeat until you can rhyme it. Now you know some factors that affect the climate.